Hello my friend and welcome to my channel Zip. I hope that you are well. Today we talk about our first data structure, and that's gonna be arrays. And let's say I wanted to store my friends names in variable so that I could use them later in my program. And so with the knowledge that we have so far, this is how we would do it. So const write friend 1 equal to epsilon. Then friend 2 Hamza, and same line, friend 2 Hamza, and then friend 3 equal to Yusuf. Yusuf. Okay? Now, this isn't really fun to do, right? Because imagine that we actually want to represent 10 friends. And then we would have to create 10 variables. So that doesn't sound like fun. Instead, wouldn't it be great to essentially bundle all of these values together into some bigger container? Well, that's why we have data structure in JavaScript, and arrays are such a data structure. So an array is like a big container into which we can throw a variable and then later reference them. And that's super important, because programming is most of the time all about the data. Okay? So we get the data from somewhere, we store and process data, and then we give some data back. And that data, it has to go somewhere. So it has to be stored in some place. And for that we use data structure just like arrays. So in case we have more than just a single value. The two most important data structures, at least in JavaScript, are arrays and object. And so now let's learn all about arrays. So instead of doing this, let's create a variable which I am gonna call friends. And then we use a bracket here, like this, to create a new array. Okay? And then in there, we can put different values separated by comma. And so let's now use the exact same name. I will just copy paste epsilon, comma, Hamza, comma, Yusuf. Okay? And make sure that this comma here are outside of the string. It's very important. So that's an error I see people do. And this is so this needs to be one string. So you need to start and finish it, then the comma, and then another value, then another comma, and another value. Okay? And now let's take a look of this array in the console. Console.log friends. And let's reload. Good. As you can see, this is what the array looks like in the console. So basically just as we wrote in our code. And that is the absolute basic about arrays. So that's how we create one array. And at least that's the way that we use the most, but there are actually another way. So let me show you how to do it. So let's say we want, always I am in the console. So let's say we want an array about years. Okay, years. Okay, and now, so instead of using the brackets, we could also write a new keyword like this. Okay, and after this we write array and we follow this by parentheses like this. Okay, and in there we will then specify all our values. So let's say 1986, for example, comma, always a comma, 1979, example of course, 2005, and 2021, the current year. So the array can hold as many values as we want, and also value of any type that we would like, the same thing, no problem about this. So it doesn't have to be a string like here, or of course number work just the same, no problem. And so here we use different way of creating the array, which was using this array function. Okay, so you see that it is a function because we call it here basically using this parenthesis. And we also need to use a new keyword because otherwise it's not gonna work. But anyway, it's way more usual to just use the brackets like I did up here, which is called the literal syntax. I repeat, this one is called literal syntax. Okay, so now we know how to create arrays, so basically how to put element into an array, but of course we need to have a way to get them out, and for that we use the square bracket syntax again. So let's say that we want to log to the console the first element of this friends array. So that will be epsilon. Okay, so I can do it here, console.log. Okay, and now I will write of course the array friends, and I will use, as I say, the square brackets. And here what I will do, I will put inside the square brackets the number 0. Why? Because arrays are 0 based. I repeat, arrays are 0 based, which means that this first element is the element number 0. Okay? Then this one is element number 1, number 2, and so on and so forth. And so if you want the element at position 0, so the first one, then you write friends square brackets 0, and that is it. And now let's say also we want Yusuf here as well, so that we will be element 0, 1, 2. Okay, and so let's just write 2 here. So I will just copy this one and we check the both in the console. 2 here. Good. So let's check them. As you can see, I have Absalam and Yusuf. So it's very cool. Now we can also get the actual number of elements that is in the array. So let's also log that in the console. So console.log, and here what I will do, I will put reference, the name of the array, always, okay, and now I will use the length properties. I call them property, just like this, okay. So, and this is .length is something called a property, which we are going to talk about a little bit later in the section when we talk about object. Don't worry about this. I don't enter in detail. Just I say the name, technical name, of course. So here it is property. Anyway, what matters here is that this is going to be the exact amount of element that is in the array, and it is not 0 based in this case. So it will not be 2. Even though the last one here is an element number 2, okay? Instead, it really gives us the number of elements in the array. So we should expect this to log 3. So let's see. Indeed. Now we can use this to automatically get the last element of any value in array, and that is useful so that we don't have to count how many elements are in the array. So let me show you how we could do that. So console.log, always I use friends, okay? And remember, to retrieve an element from the array, we need always the square brackets, okay? And then to get the index of the last element in the array, all we need to do is friends, I repeat, friends dot length -1. So simple like this, okay? And that's because, again, friends dot length is not 0 based. So this is 3, remember, but this is last element, but last is 2, okay? And so we always need to subtract 1 from this number here. Okay, so what this also means is that inside of these brackets we can put any expression. It's very important. It doesn't just have to be a number literally, like we did here and here. So here we have this expression, and remember that an expression is something that produces a value. And so this one here is gonna be calculated first. So it will compute friends.length, which is 3, -1 is 2. And then it will get friends at position 2. So let's see this in the console. And yeah, it is Yusuf. And that's also one of the reasons why it is important that you know what is an expression and what is a statement. Because once again, we could not put a statement in here, okay? So inside of these square brackets, JavaScript expects an expression, not a statement. Anyway, we got the correct element from the array, which is the element number 2. And so that means that this is automatic retrieval of the last element work just fine. Alright, and moving on, there is more stuff that we can do. So this square brackets, or this one, that we use here is not only for retrieving element from the array, but we can also change it to add element to the array. So let's say that for some reason I am no longer friends with Yusuf, and that I want to replace him with some other friends. And so now we can change or mutate the array in the same way. So we can say friends, okay, at position 2, where Yusuf is, equal, and I am doing it manually here again. So we can say that this should be equal to something else, and let's say Khaled, for example. Okay, and if you want to log now the new array friends, let's try this. That we should already see the new array, and let's see, indeed, we have Khaled instead of Yusuf. Okay, so the element number 2 is now replaced with Khaled. Okay, so in the beginning, when we first logged the friends array to the console, it was still in this state. So it still had Yusuf, as you can see. And that's why here in the beginning, we still the original state. But then, as we move on through the code, at the same point here, we change that array. And so, when we then log the array again, that change is, of course, reflected here in the output. But wait. Didn't say in the last section that variable declared with const cannot be changed? Remember this? Do you remember? And we did in fact declare the friends variable here with const, right? But I was still able to change one element of the array here, from Yusuf to Khaled, right? So isn't that a contradiction? Well, what I didn't tell you at the time is that the only primitive value are immutable. I repeat, only primitive values are immutable. But an array is not primitive value. And so we can actually always change it. So we can mutate it. And it works this way because of the way that JavaScript stores things in memory. And once more, we'll have a whole video just on that topic alone. Don't worry about this. In a special section about how JavaScript works behind the scenes. So what you need to know for now is that we can actually mutate arrays even though they were declared with const keyword. Now, what we can not do is to actually replace the entire array. So we cannot do this. So we cannot say the entire array, friends, should not be, for example, should now be Smain and Sharif. For example, this one would not, it is illegal, okay? We can do this. So let's see. And as you can see, we have this error here, assignment to a constant variable. Okay? And so that's why that we can not do. But let's just keep it here as reference. Not do it. So I just comment it. Okay? To remember. Next up, I want to show you that an array can actually hold values with different type, all at the same time. So let's experiment with that. So let's create an array which should hold all kinds of information about me. So const Faisal equal empty array. Okay. So let's say Faisal, and so that will be the first name, then the last name. This one is the same type, so string, no problem for this moment. Oops, Azib. Okay. And now I will add the age, and here you can actually calculate the age from other values. And that works because in each position, JavaScript simply expects an expression. Okay? And so if we do this, then this is perfectly fine. Okay? So I will put the current year minus 1986. An example, huh? It's not my age. So this will here produce a value, and so that's a value that will then be stored at position number 2 of the new array. And that also works for variable. So we could, for example, do here first name equal Faisal. Okay. And after this, instead of using here Faisal, I will just use first name. Same thing. And now I will add another data. For example, here the job developer. Whoops, what I have put here? Oh, developer. Okay, and actually you could even put other arrays inside of an array also. So that's really cool. So let's put our friends array here directly. Friends. Yeah, I can put it. And then with this, we have all the relevant data about Faisal in one handy data structure. And that's really convenient because then we don't have to create one variable for each of the data point. So let's, of course, inspect this Faisal array in the console. As always, to check always the result. Faisal. Okay. So that you can see that all of this expression here, basically, so this this one, first name, and here about the age, and this one about friends. So all of them are gonna be replaced with the value that they produce. Okay. So let's check that in the console now. Indeed, we have Faisal. I click here because to see all the details in this arrow. So we have Faisal, Azib, we have the age that has been calculated, 35, Faisal has been placed also. And I have arrays, this one, 3, we can see it here, about the friends, Abdeslam, Hamza and Khalid. Okay? It's very, very good. And we also have, as you can see, the length of this array is 5 here. Okay? So that's very great. Huh? It's very, very great. Good. So these are the very fundamental of arrays in JavaScript. And now, just to finish this video, let's work on a very small array exercise, so that we can see why arrays are actually so useful. And to do that, let's bring back our calc age function. This one. Okay. And now, let's say that we have an array of birth years. And then we want to calculate the age for some of them. So I will put this array, new array, but with square brackets. Okay, I don't need this one. I will just comment it, and this one with square brackets. I will use square brackets here. Okay, I added another value or no? Yeah, I added here, for example, 62, 1954, and here, for example, not 21, let's say the baby 19. Okay, and now we'll be able to use the calc age function and then store the result of calculating the age for some of these years into a new arrays. So let's see, and let's see first how we could not to do it. So for example, if we want to use the calc age function directly with the arrays years, we can't do this. Okay, so it is illegal, this one, I would say, but it's not gonna work because this years is an array, and if we pass these arrays as an argument to the calc age function, it doesn't know what to do with it, because this operation here expects a single value, and we cannot do a number minus an array. So let me actually show you what's gonna happen if we run this. And well, not much did happen. So we actually need to inspect the result of this. So I put this one, of course, in the console.log. Always to inspect the result. Okay, so let's see now. And what we got not a number. And that is a result of attempting to subtract a whole array, which will be this year's array, from a number. Okay? So let's actually do that here as well. So years. Oops. Okay. And remember that we have access to all variables that we declare in the script, also in the console. So that's array, years array that we just declared. But years, for example, plus 10 doesn't work. Okay? At least not in the way that we expected it. Okay? So the plus operator, what it does here, as you can see, is to convert everything to a string. Just like I showed you before. And so the string here is then basically this array as a string. And then it adds the 10 here. Okay, so that's not meaningful at all. And if you use it with minus, years minus 10, then it's even weirder. Okay, so we got not a number. So all of this is to say that we cannot do operations with arrays. But we can still use the calc age function on the individual element of the array, of course. So let's do that. And we will assume that I want to calculate the age for the first, the second, and the last array element. So let's calculate this and then store the result into a variable called age1. So calc age, and here what I will do, years. Okay, and so as I said, I want to calculate the age for the first element, and so what we do is to take years at position 0. Okay, and so this year will then basically be replaced with 1986, and then calc age is called with 1986, and to resolve the stores to age 1. Now let's do this some more times to another value of array. For example, now age 2, and this one age 3, and here I am using at the position 1, so for second element. Okay, so remember I want this, and also the last one, it is 2019. But I don't want to count the number of elements in the array, remember, for the last number. And so I use the trick that I just showed you in the beginning, which is to first compute the length of the array. So years dot length, okay, minus 1, to account for the fact that the index of the array is 0 best. And now we can quickly check how this actually worked. So I put all of them in the console, console.log age 1, age 2, and age 3. Okay, and yeah, so we got 3 values here, which are this 3 age. Okay, but we can take this even a little bit further. So since we start with an array, it's actually a good idea to also end up with a new array. So let's create an array called age. Okay, and now what should I put in here? Well, remember how I set up that any position of the array simply needs to be an expression, so something that produce a value. And as we already know, this here produce a value as well, right? It is an expression, and so I can take this and simply put it as a position in the array. Okay, so let's do it. First one, and the second one, and the last. Oops, I forgot the calc age. Oh, sorry. I forgot the calc age. So, this one, and the last one. But I have forgot also again. I repeat. Tag. And now, good. And so JavaScript will then go ahead, compute this value, and place it in the array. So basically, we can place function calls into an array just fine, because they will produce a value. And now finally, I will log this array age in the console to check always. And indeed, we get the 3 same values that we had up here separately. now all nicely placed into this array. And this of course works because JavaScript will start by running this cork age function. So this tree function called here, and then place all the result in array afterwards. Nice. And I think that should be enough for one video. And I hope that you see how fun arrays can be and how useful they can be. And in next video, inshallah, we'll make them even more useful by doing some operation with them. So stay with us, stay motivated, focused, and strong, and it's necessary to follow the next video, okay? And all of the course, of course, inshallah. So stay with us, as I said. Practice always, practice, and until you will acquire all the fundamental knowledge about JavaScript before to start the new section, inshallah. Take care of us, brothers and sisters. Subscribe to my channel Faisal Azib and click in the bell button to receive all the new videos. Follow Instagram that you show in the video, Faisal.Chico, and Teams.Winners, Telegram, Real Practice and Share, Twitter's Teams Winners. I tell you goodbye. Wassalamu alaikum wa barakatuh.